if you would like, I can give you a quick tour of the submarine, or you can just do the filming.
We're going to start it?
Well, if you started the time yesterday, I'm sure the submarine would be.
Eneos, Japán első számú motorolaja, importőre a Szakelmetál autóalkatrész.
Mivel már mindent megjavítottunk a múzeum raktárában, itt volt az ideje, hogy alaposabban megnézzük a kiállított járműveket is. Itt még vidáman siettünk a tengeralattjáró felé, hiszen nem lehet szomorú a története, ha sértetlen, és Cousteaunak vagy Robert Ballardnak sincs köze hozzá. Nagyot tévedtünk.
Bemegyünk egy tengeralattjáróba, lemerülünk. Parancsoljon!
Okay, so this is one of 6 submarines, this size and this model. It was produced and made in Yugoslavia. They started planning it and designing it in 1977 in the Yugoslavian Navy, but this one set sail in 1985. Interestingly though, it was active until 2003, so almost 20 years it was operational and up and moving. It can take up to 10 people. And 4 people are necessary crew members that always need to be inside the submarine, and the 6 extra are just for specific missions. So the 4 crew members that always need to be inside the submarine are the captain, the driver, the navigator, and the engineer. The captain usually was stationed here at the periscope, so we can just go over the gear quickly as well. The periscope is usable 3 to 5 meters under the sea level, and it was for its time quite advanced because it also had night vision already in 1985. And also that rubber piece where the captain puts his eye on can also be taken off and a camera can be mounted. So they would basically have photo evidence of everything that they needed to keep track of. There at the steering wheel was the driver. Now usually people don't expect such a steering wheel inside a submarine, maybe on a fishing boat or something, but it's quite a special steering wheel because it's a double steering wheel, so you have one steering wheel and an identical one right below it, and there's 2 steering wheels because at the back of the submarine where the propeller is there are also 2 wings to guide it, and one steering wheel controls one wing and the other steering wheel controls the other wing. And also here at the driver's seat you can see, it's very clear to see that it's a very colorful dashboard. Lots of blue colors, yellow, red and green. And that's because a spy submarine needs to stay hidden always. So there's no audio signals when there's an error or something goes wrong. Just you can see over there, there's a picture of the submarine with red lights on it. So if something broke or something malfunctioned, there wouldn't be any sound like in Hunt for Red October where all the lights shut off and there's just red lights and a siren. Here it's just one small red light starts blinking and they knew what to do, so they would just immediately try and go and fix it. Then here was the navigator. They had 2 sonars. The upper one is quite a classic sonar. You can see it in movies and documentaries about submarines. It's the one that uses echolocation. So the beep, beep that goes out and comes back and shows up on the radar. But again, it's a spy submarine, so they couldn't be beeping all the time and revealing their location. So they had the bottom one that looks like an old television, and that is basically a large listening device. It's like a large underwater microphone, and it could pick up ships on top that were going above the submarine, other submarines, and things like that. And this one could not as easily be detected, also because it's only electric. It's a purely electric submarine, so just car batteries and car battery styled batteries and an electro motor. There's no backup engine on diesel, gasoline or anything. And all the batteries were down here beneath our feet and benches across the entire length of the submarine.
How many batteries are there?
So the submarine is 80 tons total, and out of those 80 tons, 24 tons is just the batteries. So more than a quarter of the weight they were dragging with them was just the batteries.
80 tonnában 25 tonna az
So it was quite a lot. And also here the navigator, you can see that there's a meter that says knots. That is for the speed. And nautical knots to kilometers, usually the submarine was traveling about 8 kilometers per hour. So not very fast, but nobody knew where they were, so they weren't in a hurry they weren't being chased by anybody, basically. And over there, those two, between the driver and the navigator, those two big meters are for the depth. The upper one shows every 10 meters, and the bottom one shows then the specific depth that they were at. Usually these submarines would drop down to 105 meters when they were traveling, and the maximum they ever attempted was 130.
Day?
Excuse me?
130 meters.
Okay.
130 meters deep. These were basically, these submarines never really left the Adriatic Sea. Since they had an electromotor, batteries, and were very slow, they only had a range of 500 kilometers, so 250 one way, 250 back, which means they didn't go out into open sea much. So they were just basically like security guards for the Atlantic, just unnoticed, sailing up and down and taking pictures of ships, recording their sounds and everything, and report everything back to base. Yes,
okay.
They could record with that, and basically when they saw a ship, they would take a picture with a periscope and record the sound of the engine, so they could compare it to other sounds they already had and identify the ship basically just by the sound. They sometimes didn't even need the pictures. But 10 people in here, going 8 kilometers per hour, 500 kilometers away, it takes some time. Sometimes they were in here up to 6 days. That was the maximum they were allowed to be in here. And in 6 days you have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to take a shower, you have to go to the bathroom and everything. And here there was none of that. They would sleep like we are sitting now, so one next to the other, and just kind of like Boy Scouts around the campfire, just having a nap, and then the commander would come, shake them, wake them up, and they would go back to work. The food was only dry food. They could not cook or heat up any food in here, so it was just cold dry food, a lot of crackers, a lot of bread, pate, canned fish, and a lot of sugar also.
Domaćica cookies.
Yes, domaćica, glucosa, everything like that. And they would give them all this sugar and bread and crackers because there is no bathroom on the submarine. There's only one small chemical toilet that was for emergencies, and the captain would need to give you a command that you can use the bathroom, and it could be only used once per trip, which means it wasn't used at all. And all that sugar and bread basically clogged up all these sailors, so they would constipate it for an entire week, so they didn't need to go to the bathroom. And urination also wasn't a problem, because it was very hot in here. 24 tons of batteries, 10 people breathing the same air. It was 30 Celsius plus in here constantly. And by the end of the first day, they were already dehydrated, sweat out all the excess liquids out of them, and they would only get 2 deciliters of water per day, which is basically 1 glass of water per day, and 1 deciliter was for drinking, and 1 deciliter was for hygiene. And you can guess how much they used it for hygiene. They just drank all the water that they would give them, and then they would smell a bit, but it didn't bother them. So it was quite a rough life to work inside the submarine. I don't think that if they were to make these kinds of submarines again, I don't think they would allow such a thing. It would probably be a violation of human rights or something. That's what they would call it. Yeah, because, I mean, they would also get sick over time. They would get anemic, very bad blood, and they would need to go get treatments, and once they were healthy, right back into the submarine.
And what about the oxygen?
The oxygen, they had supplies from land, basically stored supplies of oxygen, and that's why there was also a 6-day maximum of the trip, because that's how much the supplies would last. And also, to conserve as much space as they could, anything that wasn't needed inside the submarine was stored on the outside of the submarine, which is why we have these red valves basically all across the submarine. These open outside compartments, so when the divers would leave the submarine underwater and go outside, they would just knock on the outside in Morse code which of these to open. They would roll it, open it, and roll it back, and they would have their gear on the outside.
Interesting story.
Ezek a szűrők lehetnek.
Hát gondolom. Are these filters on?
No, this is where the air would come in, and that box above the driver's head, that silver box, that would filter the air out. Because also the batteries were lead-based, so over time they would start producing, in such a large quantity, they would start producing a gas that was dangerous to the crew. So they needed to filter out the air and, all the time.
Ez brutál lehetett úgy vezetni, nem látsz semmit, és csak fűszerekkel.
And filtering, so the oxygen from the water, and that would give them a small amount of extra breathable air, but just enough to get them maybe back to the surface or to the...
Not a friendly room.
Forgatták a levegőt is. Próbálnak átmenni, hogy a fény kevésbé szabad.
Kedvenceink.
Fú, senki nem szarik, mert el van dugítva a segget cukorral, meg kekszel.
Ti van ilyen?
Hogyne itt? Hát, a tankot se kívántam be, ezt se.
Félelmetes, félelmetes.
Gondolj bele, 6 napon keresztül nem tudsz felállni. Nem tudsz rendeset tranzítani. 6 nap után az első az nagyon fájhat. Beszélgettem a sráccal, és mondta, hogy egy 10 ember volt összezárva egy nagyon-nagyon pici helyen a tengeralattjáróba, és ezeknek az embereknek mind jóba kellett lenni, és mindenki nagyon jó barátoknak kell lenni, hogy elviseljék egymást. Egy héten keresztül összezárva, ez kisebb hely, mint egy börtön. Gyakorlatilag minimum, és nem lehetett beszélgetni, mert egy kémtengeralattjáró, tehát izzadtál, ittál 2 deci vizet, zabáltad a kekszet és a cukrot, és el kellett viselni a másik 10 embert úgy, hogy nem beszélhettél, kusban ültél, és azt vártad, hogy mi történik. És ennyi. És hogyha valaki a legénységből beteg volt, akkor senki nem ment, mert nem tettek be új embert, mert az a 10 ember ismerte egymást, ezek össze voltak szokva, és ők csak így mentek.
És az, hogy amikor... Ehhez még egy adalék. Hogy amikor visszaértek a küldetésről, mindenki beteg volt. Elmentek az orvoshoz, amikor meggyógyultak, akkor mehettek vissza újra. Tehát le is betegedtek egy ilyen küldetés alatt. És 2003-ban még aktív volt ez a tengeralattjáró.
Mindenkit megérintett a jugoszláv kémtengeralattjárósok kegyetlen története. Főleg annak tudatában, hogy soha semmire nem használták a gyűjtött információt. Szótlanul álltunk a kiállított használati tárgyaik előtt, kerestünk gyorsan valami elfoglaltságot rossz kedve ellen.
So just quickly the controls, just grab the stick. So if you put it to the left, the plane will rotate to the left. If you put it to the right, it will rotate to the right. If you push it forward, the plane will go down, and if you pull it towards yourself, the plane will go up. These pedals turn the plane this way. So push your right foot forward, and the plane will go left, and push your left foot forward, and the plane will go left. But everything will make sense once you do it. It will happen.
Where are the guns?
Utolsó rárepülés.
Maradt még egy rész a szlovén kalandokból, rendhagyó múzeumlátogatással fogjuk majd ezt a külföldi túrát zárni. Addig is iratkozzatok fel!